In the vast reaches of space where countless alien species traveled between stars and fought great battles, humanity had just joined a large military alliance. This alliance was full of many powerful and advanced races, each proud of their ships and weapons. Among them, humans were still new and not taken very seriously. The newest human warship had just arrived at the main space station. It was strange and looked old-fashioned compared to the sleek, shining ships of other species. Its design was clunky and odd, with big, round engines that looked slow and a hull that seemed to be made from many different parts patched together. The warship was painted in a dull gray color, with a large, blinking antenna sticking out in a strange way. Aliens from all over the station gathered to see this stupid new ship. They whispered and laughed. A tall, blue-skinned alien with long arms shook his head and said loudly, "How can humans expect to fight with that old thing? It looks like a floating garbage can." A small, sharp-eyed alien with 4 eyes laughed and added, "Maybe they are joking. This ship has no speed, no weapons like ours, and no shields that can hold a hit." Inside the ship, the human captain, Sarah Kane, watched the aliens' reactions through the ship's communication system. She felt the sting of their words, but did not let it show on her face. Sarah was in her early 30s with calm eyes and a determined spirit. She had spent years training for this moment, and she knew the ship better than anyone. "Let them laugh," she said quietly to herself. "We will show them what this ship can do." Sarah stepped onto the ship's bridge where her small crew waited. The team was made up of humans, each skilled and ready to prove themselves. They knew the ship had problems. It was slower than most, and its weapons were basic, but they also knew it had something special. "Report," Sarah said, her voice steady. Her second in command, a man named Mark, looked up from his console. "The ship's engine is old technology, but it's very reliable. The weapons are simple, but the targeting system is fast and accurate. We have some systems others don't understand yet." Sarah nodded. "Good. Let's get ready for the inspection. The Alliance leaders want to see if we are ready for combat." As they prepared, the ship's unusual features became clear. It had a thick armor layer that was heavier than other ships, making it slow but very tough. Its engine design was simple but easy to repair, and its strange-looking antenna was actually a powerful sensor that could detect enemies from far away. The Alliance leaders arrived for the inspection. They were a mix of species, all dressed in their official uniforms. The head of the inspection was Admiral Vorn, a tall alien with sharp, red eyes. He walked around the ship, looking it over with a critical gaze. "This is the human warship?" Vorn asked loudly. "It looks like a joke. How do you expect to survive with such a slow and weak vessel?" Sarah stepped forward. "Admiral, this ship is not like the others. It is designed with human creativity and adaptability in mind. We may not have the fastest weapons, but we have other strengths." Vorn sneered. "Strengths? You mean luck?" Alien crowd laughed again. Sarah felt their eyes on her but stood firm. "We will prove our strength soon," she said quietly. Suddenly, an alert sounded through the station. The communications officer reported a warning. An enemy fleet had been detected nearby. The Alliance was under attack. Chaos broke out as leaders and soldiers prepared for battle. Admiral Vorn turned to Sarah. "Captain Kane, your ship will be part of the defense fleet. Let's see if your stupid warship can do anything useful." Sarah gave a firm nod. "Yes, Admiral." The crew moved quickly, powering up the ship's engines and weapons. Though slow, the engines worked perfectly. The ship's systems began to hum with energy. Sarah felt a rush of hope. This was their chance. As the human warship moved toward the battlefield, other ships passed them, zooming, past with speed and power. Some aliens shouted insults, calling the human ship useless. But Sarah ignored them. She trusted her crew and the ship's hidden strengths. When the battle started, the enemy fleet attacked with fast, powerful ships. The Alliance forces were pushed back and many ships were damaged. Sarah's warship stayed steady, using its thick armor to take hits others could not. "Mark, target that enemy ship on our left. Use the sensor to predict its movement," Sarah ordered. Mark's fingers flew over the controls. The ship's sensors tracked the enemy ship's path. They fired their weapons with precise timing, hitting the enemy before it could react. The enemy ship exploded. The alien observers were shocked. How did a stupid ship take down a warship like that? One whispered. Sarah smiled slightly but kept her focus. More enemy ships came, but the human warship moved carefully, using clever tactics. It stayed close to friendly ships, helping protect them. The thick armor saved them from damage that would have destroyed other vessels. The battle raged for hours. The human warship, though slow, was steady and reliable. It distracted enemy forces and helped save many Alliance ships from destruction. Slowly, the tide of the battle turned. At the end of the fight, the Alliance forces had won, thanks in part to the human ship. The alien leaders were silent for a moment. Then Admiral Vorn approached Sarah. "You surprised me, Captain Kane," he said. "Perhaps your ship is not as stupid as it looks." Sarah nodded. "It's not about looks, Admiral, it's about how you use what you have." Word of the battle spread quickly through the Alliance. The stupid human warship was now a symbol of unexpected strength. Sarah and her crew became respected for their courage and cleverness. Still, Sarah knew this was just the beginning. The war was far from over. But now the galaxy had a new respect for humanity. And the stupidest warship was ready to prove itself again and again. The human warship, nicknamed the Rust Bucket by many aliens, had just surprised everyone in the last battle. No one expected much from it before, but now some were starting to look at it differently. Still, many in the Alliance remained doubtful. How could a slow, clunky ship made by humans stand a chance against the fast, powerful fleets of the enemy? Captain Sarah Kane knew that the real test was still ahead. The enemy would soon come back with stronger forces. The humans had to be ready. Back on the Rust Bucket, the crew was busy repairing small damages from the battle. Sarah walked through the narrow corridors, greeting each member. They worked quickly and carefully, even though their ship was not the most comfortable place in the universe. Mark, the second in command, approached her with a serious look. "Captain, we have new orders. The enemy is moving toward a mining colony on the edge of our territory. They want to destroy it and cut off our resources." Sarah frowned. "That colony is important. If they lose it, the whole Alliance will suffer. We need to stop them." Mark nodded. "We will be part of the defense fleet again. But this time, the enemy has many more ships. They know about us now." Sarah's jaw tightened. "Then we have to be smarter." The fleet gathered near the mining colony. Many large and fast ships formed a defensive line, ready to fight. The aliens still watched the Rust Bucket with suspicion. Some made quiet jokes about its slow speed and strange shape. The enemy fleet arrived, and the battle began. The enemy ships were fast and attacked hard. The big Alliance ships fired powerful lasers and missiles. Explosions lit up space, and pieces of destroyed ships floated in the dark. The Rust Bucket stayed behind the larger ships. It seemed slow, moving carefully, but it was not just hiding. "Mark, activate the sensor arrays," Sarah ordered. The strange antenna on the ship started working. It sent out waves that detected enemy ships even beyond normal radar. The crew watched as the sensors showed enemy ships moving through space, trying to find weak points in the Alliance line. "Target the small ship near the left flank," Sarah said. "Use the missile launcher. Fire when I say." Mark aimed carefully. Missiles ready. Sarah watched the enemy ship move. It tried to escape, but the sensors predicted its path perfectly. Fire. The missile shot out, fast and silent. They hit the enemy ship, causing a bright explosion. Some alien officers gasped. "How did that slow ship hit a target so fast?" Sarah smiled slightly. "That's just the beginning." The enemy kept attacking. This time, they tried to break through the Alliance line at the mining colony's defense station. "Mark, we need to protect the station," Sarah said. "Get the ship's energy shields up." The Rust Bucket did not have strong shields like the other ships, but it had a special energy system. The crew quickly moved power from the engines to the shield generators. A soft blue glow appeared around the ship. It was not strong, but it was enough to block some enemy fire. The enemy ships fired powerful beams. The Rust Bucket took the hits but did not fall. The thick armor absorbed the damage, and the shield weakened the rest. "Captain," the weapons officer said, Enemy fighters are trying to sneak past us. They want to destroy the colony's power supply. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Then they will have to get through us. The ship's small but fast turrets turned and fired. The turrets moved quickly, hitting enemy fighters before they could get close. The crew worked together, using the ship's strange features to their advantage. They knew their ship was slow, but it was strong and clever. Suddenly, the enemy launched a surprise attack. A group of fast ships appeared behind the Alliance line, aiming straight for the rust bucket. "Incoming!" shouted the lookout. The enemy ships fired heavy weapons. The rust bucket shook from the hits. The crew scrambled to keep control. Sarah gave orders quickly. "Mark, divert all power to the rear engines. We need to turn around and face them." The ship moved awkwardly, but managed to spin. Its thick armor took more hits, but the crew stayed calm. The turrets opened fire and the missile launchers prepared again. "Fire on my command," Sarah said. The enemy ships came closer, expecting an easy kill, but the rust bucket was ready. Fire, missiles, shot out, striking the lead enemy ship. It exploded and the other ships slowed down, confused. "Keep firing. Don't let them regroup," Sarah commanded. The crew kept up their attack. The enemy ships tried to escape but were trapped between the Alliance fleet and the stubborn human ship. The mining colony's defense station began repairing its systems. With the rust bucket holding the enemy, the colony's power stayed safe. After hours of fighting, the enemy fleet retreated. The Alliance ships cheered. For the first time, many aliens looked at the rust bucket with new respect. Admiral Vorn appeared, again this time not with scorn but with curiosity. "Captain Kane, your ship fought well today. Your crew showed courage and skill." Sarah nodded. "Thank you, Admiral. We use what we have and we never give up." Vorn studied the rust bucket thoughtfully. "Perhaps your ship's strange design is not a weakness but a hidden strength." The other Alliance members started talking about the ship. Some asked to study it, wanting to understand how it worked. Sarah gathered her crew in the bridge. "This is just the start. The enemy will come back stronger, but we will be ready. Remember, it's not the size or speed of the ship that wins battles. It's the people who fight with it." Her crew smiled, proud and confident. In the days that followed, the rust bucket became a symbol of hope. Other ships started to respect the humans' strange, stupid warship. It was clear now, humans did not fight like others. They fought smart, using their ship in ways no one expected, and Captain Sarah Kane was ready for the next challenge. The warship called Rust Bucket had become the center of attention. No longer just a joke, it was now known as the ship that could surprise the enemy, but many still wondered what made it so special. Captain Sarah Kane knew the truth. The ship's real power was hidden, waiting for the right moment to show itself. After the last battle, the crew returned to their base. Repairs were slow but steady. The ship's old design meant parts had to be made carefully, sometimes even by hand. The engineers worked hard, and Sarah often visited them, checking on progress. One evening, as the ship rested in the docking bay, Sarah met with the chief engineer, Dr. Elena Cruz. She was a calm woman with sharp eyes and a mind that understood machines better than anyone else. "Captain," Elena said, "there's something about this ship that most don't see. It's built from many different ideas, some very old, some very new. It's like a puzzle." Sarah smiled. "I always knew this ship was more than it looked." Elena nodded. "The secret is in the systems beneath the surface. Our engineers mixed old reliable tech with new experiments. The antenna on the ship, for example, isn't just for communication." "What is it?" Sarah asked, curious. Elena pointed to a screen. "It's an advanced sensor that can detect invisible energy signals, things other ships can't sense. It helps us find enemies before they even know we're there." Sarah thought for a moment. "So that's why we hit targets that others miss." "Exactly," Elena said. "And there's more. The engine might look slow, but it can switch modes. When needed, it can release bursts of power, making the ship faster in short bursts. It's like a sprinter, not a marathon runner." Sarah was impressed. "No wonder we can keep up sometimes." Elena looked serious. "But it's tricky to use. If you overuse it, the engine overheats and could fail. We need to be careful." Sarah nodded. "We'll train the crew on this." The next days were busy. The crew learned to work with the ship's hidden abilities. They practiced short bursts of speed, using the sensor to find weak spots, and protecting the ship's energy system. 1. Afternoon, a message came from the Alliance Command. Enemy forces detected near the mining colony again. This time, a new type of warship is with them, a ship we haven't seen before. It has strong shields and powerful weapons. Sarah gathered her crew on the bridge. This will be a tough fight. But we have a secret weapon now, our ship's hidden strengths. We will use every part of it. The Alliance fleet prepared to move. Sarah's ship joined the front lines. As they approached the enemy, the new warship appeared. It was large and menacing, glowing with bright energy shields. The other Alliance ships fired their strongest weapons, but the enemy ship's shields absorbed the blasts easily. "Mark," Sarah said, "use the sensor to scan the enemy ship's shield frequency. We need to find a weakness." Mark worked quickly. "I see a pattern in their shields. There's a short time when the shield resets." After blocking a big attack, Sarah's eyes lit up. "We'll time our attack for that moment." The battle began. Sarah kept the rust bucket moving carefully, avoiding heavy fire. When the enemy ship fired a powerful blast, the rust bucket raised its shield to block it. At the same moment, Sarah ordered Mark to prepare a missile strike. "Wait for the shield reset," she said. The crew held their breath. The sensors counted down the shield cycle. "Now, fire!" The missiles launched perfectly timed and struck the enemy ship's hull just as the shield went down. The enemy ship shook and sparks flew from its armor. The Alliance ships cheered. But the battle was far from over. The enemy retaliated with fighter ships trying to surround the rust bucket. Sarah smiled. "Time to use our speed burst." She gave the order. The engines roared as the ship surged forward in a sudden burst of speed, dodging the fighters' lasers. The crew worked together, firing back with precision and using the ship's fast turrets to take down enemies one by one. Suddenly, the engine warning light flashed red. The bursts of speed had overheated the engine system. "Captain," Mark shouted, "engine overheating. We have to cool it down or risk shutdown." Sarah thought quickly. "Divert power from the weapons to the cooling system. Reduce speed bursts." The crew adjusted power and worked to stabilize the engine. Slowly, the warning light stopped flashing. "We're safe for now," Mark said, wiping sweat from his forehead. Sarah looked out at the battle. The enemy ship was weakening, its shields flickering. "Keep up the pressure," she said. "We are winning." After a long fight, the enemy ship finally collapsed and the enemy fleet began to retreat. The Alliance fleet cheered loudly. Later, back on the rust bucket, Sarah gathered her crew. "You did great today," she said. "We learned how to use our ship in ways others don't. It's not just about power, but how you use it." Mark smiled. "I think the aliens will stop calling us stupid now." Sarah laughed. "Maybe. But it's not about their words. It's about our work." Elena joined them. "Captain, we are already working on upgrades to make the ship even better. We will learn more from this ship's design and improve it." Sarah nodded. "Good, because the war is not over and we need every advantage." That night, Sarah looked at the stars from the ship's observation deck. The galaxy was full of danger, but also hope. Humanity's stupid warship was no longer a joke. It was a secret weapon, strange, clever, and powerful in ways no one expected, and Captain Sarah Kane was ready to lead it into the next fight. The galaxy was changing. The enemy forces, once small and scattered, had grown stronger and more aggressive. They launched attacks on many Alliance planets and stations. The war was spreading fast. Captain Sarah Kane and the crew of the Rust Bucket knew their job was harder than ever. They had won 2 important battles, but each victory brought a bigger challenge. The Alliance leaders called a meeting. Representatives from many races gathered in the Great Hall of the main space station. The atmosphere was tense and serious. Admiral Vorn spoke first. "The enemy has changed its tactics. They are no longer just attacking isolated targets. They have begun coordinated strikes on multiple fronts. We need a new strategy." Sarah listened carefully. When it was her turn, she spoke clearly. "Our ship's strength is its ability to adapt. We can use unexpected moves to confuse the enemy. We must fight smart, not just with power. Some aliens nodded, but others looked doubtful. The warships of the Alliance were built for strength and speed, not for surprises. After the meeting, Sarah returned to the rust bucket. She gathered her crew. The enemy is stronger, but they don't expect us to change. We will use that. We will be unpredictable. The crew prepared for their next mission. This time, they were to protect a convoy carrying supplies to a distant colony under threat. The convoy was large but slow. The enemy would surely try to attack. Sarah studied the maps and reports. The enemy fleet was near and ready. When the convoy started moving, Sarah's ship stayed close, watching for signs of attack. Hours passed in silence. Then sensors detected fast-moving ships. Enemy fighters. The lookout shouted. They are coming for the convoy. Sarah gave quick orders. Prepare weapons. Use the ship's speed bursts to intercept. The rust bucket moved forward, fast and sudden. The enemy fighters were surprised by the ship's quick attacks. Sarah used the ship's sensor to track fighters as they tried to hide behind asteroids and debris. Mark, target the ones trying to flank us, Sarah said. The crew worked as one. The turrets fired with accuracy. Missiles followed the targets. Despite the odds, the convoy stayed safe. But the enemy was not done. A large cruiser appeared, moving toward the convoy. Captain, Mark said, that cruiser has heavy weapons. It can destroy the convoy in minutes. Sarah's mind raced. We need a plan to stop it. She thought about the ship's strengths. Mark, ready the sensor array. We will try to jam their communications. If they can't coordinate, they will lose advantage. The rust bucket's antenna began sending signals to interfere with the enemy cruiser's systems. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then the cruiser's weapons slowed. Its fighters stopped responding to commands. Sarah smiled. It's working. Keep jamming. The enemy cruiser fired wildly, missing the convoy by miles. The Alliance ships attacked while the cruiser was confused. Sarah used the ship's speed burst to close in. Prepare missile launchers, she ordered. We will hit them while they are vulnerable. The missiles flew, striking the cruiser's engines. The big ship slowed and began to drift. Enemy fighters retreated, and the convoy was safe. The Alliance fleet cheered the success, but Sarah knew the fight was far from over. Days later, Sarah held a meeting with her officers. We have shown we can fight smart and protect our allies, she said. But the enemy will keep coming. We must stay ready and keep finding new ways to use this ship. Mark spoke up. Captain, the crew's training has improved. We can push the ship's systems harder now. Sarah nodded. Good, but remember, the ship is old. We must respect its limits. The crew worked harder, learning new tactics and improving their teamwork. The rust bucket was no longer just a slow, clunky ship. It was a weapon of cleverness and courage. One night, Sarah stood on the observation deck looking at the stars. The war was tough. The enemy was strong. But humanity was stronger. Their stupid warship was proof that strength comes in many forms, and Sarah was ready for whatever came next. The war had reached a new level. The enemy was no longer just attacking small colonies or convoys. Now they planned a massive strike on the Alliance's main command center, a huge space station that controlled much of their military power. The year. Alliance leaders were worried. If the station fell, the entire war could be lost. Many ships were sent to defend it, including Captain Sarah Kane and the Rust Bucket. The day before the battle, the Alliance held a final briefing. Sarah listened carefully as commanders spoke of the enemy's power and plans. Admiral Vorn looked serious. This will be the greatest fight we have faced. The enemy will use everything they have to destroy the station. Sarah stood and spoke, clearly. We have faced tough fights before. Our ship is not the fastest or strongest, but it is smart. We will use every advantage we have. The room fell silent, then slowly nodded in agreement. On the Rust Bucket, the crew prepared for the battle. Engineers worked to improve the cooling system, so the engines could handle more speed bursts. Weapons officers checked every turret and missile launcher. The atmosphere was tense but full of determination. That night, Sarah walked through the ship. She stopped by the observation deck and looked out at the stars. She thought about the journey so far, the battles, the doubts, The victories. This ship may look stupid, she whispered to herself, but it carries the hope of humanity. The next day, the enemy fleet arrived. It was the largest Sarah had ever seen. Dozens of warships of all sizes moving with deadly precision. The Alliance fleet formed a strong line around the station. Sarah's ship took position near the front. The battle began. Enemy ships fired powerful weapons. Explosions shook the station and Alliance ships. The air was filled with the sounds of battle, alarms, commands, and the hum of engines. The rust bucket moved carefully, using its thick armor to take hits others could not. Its shields flickered but held strong. Suddenly, enemy fighters tried to break through the line. Sarah's ship moved fast with short bursts, dodging lasers and firing back. "Mark, target their leader," Sarah ordered. "We need to break their formation." The crew focused their fire. Missiles struck the enemy, leader's ship, causing it to spin out of control. The enemy fleet began to lose coordination. But the battle was far from over. A large cruiser appeared, heading straight for the command station. "Captain," Mark said, "that cruiser's weapons can destroy the station if we don't stop it." Sarah thought fast. "Use the sensor array to jam their systems again, then we'll attack." The rust bucket's antenna sent out signals, confusing the cruiser's controls. The cruiser's weapons faltered. Sarah gave the order to fire missiles. The missiles hit the cruiser's engines. It slowed, then drifted helplessly. The Alliance fleet pressed their advantage, pushing the enemy back. As the battle continued, the rust bucket faced new dangers. Enemy ships used tricks to hide and surprise them. Sarah stayed calm. "Trust the ship's sensors. Trust your training." The crew worked like a well-oiled machine, using every strength of their ship. After hours of fighting, the enemy fleet retreated. The command station was safe. The Alliance leaders praised Sarah and her crew. Admiral Vorn shook Sarah's hand. "Your ship and crew have saved us all. You've proven that strength is more than power, it is heart and mind." Sarah smiled. "Thank you, Admiral. The rust bucket is a symbol of what humanity can do." That night, the crew celebrated quietly. They knew the war was not over, but this victory was important. Sarah stood on the observation deck again. She looked at the stars and thought about the future. The rust bucket was no longer the stupidest warship. It was a legend, and humanity had earned its place among the stars. The war was finally over. Months after the great battle at the command station, the enemy forces had retreated to the far edges of the galaxy. Their power was broken, and many of their leaders were captured or surrendered. The Alliance had won, but it was not by sheer strength alone. It was because of courage, cleverness, and the unexpected heroism of one ship, the human warship known as the Rust Bucket. Captain Sarah Kane stood on the bridge of her ship, watching the stars pass by. The ship was no longer the slow, clunky vessel everyone had laughed at. It had become a symbol of hope and determination. The crew moved around her with pride, each member knowing they had changed the galaxy's view of humanity forever. The Alliance leaders had invited Sarah and her crew to a special ceremony at the Central Space Station. It was a celebration of peace, victory, and new friendships. When Sarah arrived, she saw ships from many species gathered together, shining brightly in the starry sky. Flags and banners waved, and music filled the air. It was a moment of joy after so much hardship. Admiral Vorn approached Sarah with a respectful smile. "Captain Kane, humanity has earned the respect of the entire Alliance. Your ship, once called the stupidest warship, is now a legend." Sarah smiled warmly. "Thank you, Admiral. We only did what we had to do, protect our people and fight with our hearts." The crowd cheered. Stories of the Rust Bucket's battles were told again and again. The ship's strange design, once a source of ridicule, was now admired for its cleverness and strength. Sarah thought back to the first time she had taken command of the ship. How many times had others doubted them? How many times had they faced danger with little more than hope and determination? Now, those doubts were gone. The ceremony ended with Sarah giving a speech. "We all come from different worlds," she said, "but together, we are stronger." This war showed us that no matter where we come from, we can rise to any challenge if we believe in ourselves and each other. Her words were met with applause. Later, Sarah walked through the space station's halls. She saw young cadets looking at her with admiration. Some were humans, but many were aliens who had heard the story of the rust bucket. A young alien girl approached Sarah shyly. "Captain, I want to be like you, brave and smart." Sarah knelt down and smiled. "You can be. Just never stop learning and never give up." The war had changed many things. It had brought enemies together as friends and taught everyone that strength was more than just weapons and ships. Back on the rust bucket, the crew prepared for a new mission, a mission of peace. They would help rebuild damaged planets, explore new worlds, and protect the Alliance's future. Sarah looked at her crew and said, "Our journey is just beginning. We fought to survive, but now we fight to live, to build, and to explore." The stars outside the window seemed brighter than ever. Humanity had found its place among them, not by copying others, but by being itself. And the rust bucket, the stupidest. Warship was proof that sometimes the greatest strength comes from the most unexpected places.